Hello, team, and welcome to episode 3. A question a day keeps the shyness away. Team, today we will be discussing what I consider to be the number one English habit building activity that anybody can do. And if you have been my student for some time, you already know what it is. It's in the title, which is about asking a question a day. And we're going to be comboing it with what might be the oldest human tradition, which is sharing a meal with somebody. And whether it's breakfast, like we do here in my house, whether it's lunch with your coworkers, maybe it's at the end of the day at dinner where everybody gets together, I know that you share one of your meals with somebody who speaks some English. And that is the perfect place for you to include this activity. So we'll be discussing meals, diets. And when I say diet, I don't mean like those 40 egg a day diets. I just mean whatever you like to eat. And we will be seeing how we can include these questions in our week, as well as reviewing some rules related to asking questions in English. All right, see what we got. So number one, I was sent this video by Mr. Lucas. I thought it was really cool, fun way to practice some English with some English and some rap, I guess. So take a look at this. If you are studying, maybe you will want to pause it. There's a lot of good vocab. But my question is, what is a hit kitchen hack you learned last year? We're in January, so last year, what is something that you learned in the kitchen? Who do you share your meals with regularly? Whether, like I give the example, breakfast with your family, that's the one that's most common for us, while the rest of the team is waking up. I start breakfast. Dinner, sometimes I don't share with them because they might eat while I'm still working. But breakfast is that meal where it's almost guaranteed we'll be all together. So that's where I would include this activity. And our grammar point today is related to yes and no questions. Why? If you know how to ask yes and no questions, when we get to the open questions, which we will see right after, they're easy peasy lemon squeezy. So let's take a look. Number 1 of 5, we have 5 points. If a sentence in English starts with an auxiliary verb, one of these here on the side, you know 2 things instantly. Number 1, the question. In Portuguese, sometimes a statement and a question are exactly the same except for your intonation. But in English, we know from the first word whether it's a question or if it's a statement. And if you hear one of these, not only is it a question, but the answer is either yes or no. So if you're feeling lucky, you can guess if you don't hear the question. Now, tip number 2. You will use the auxiliary verb in your answer. So if the person asks you would do, you're going to say do, have, can. Obviously, in real life, you don't even need to say anything. You can go, uh-huh. But if you are giving that partial answer, for example, do you like chocolate? You'll either say, yes, I do, or no, I don't. Option number 3, you can give a complete sentence. For example, yes, I like chocolate. What you cannot do would be, yes, I like. So you either give a nonverbal answer, right? You can give that partial answer, yes, I do. Or you can give a complete sentence, yes, I like chocolate. All of them are fine. Number 3, there are 2 exceptions, and I think they're big enough that they are worth mentioning. Are you? If I ask, are you hungry? You are going to answer, yes, I am, or no, I'm not. So we're not going to use the are in our answer. The other exception, which I think I hear more mistakes with, is were you. So were you at the restaurant yesterday? It's not, yes, I were. It's going to be, yes, I was. I think because we practice the I am more, I don't usually hear that mistake. The were you, I do often hear mistakes with. Tip number 4. If the sentence in statement form has an auxiliary verb, flip it. Lise is eating broccoli, statement. Is Lise eating broccoli? Question. As far as I'm aware of, there are no real exceptions or tricks involving this, but we do have a tense without an auxiliary. They are the simple forms. That's why they're called the simple forms. They don't have an auxiliary. In the present simple, Lise likes broccoli. We don't have any auxiliaries here. So we call over do. In this case, we use does because third person, does Lise like broccoli? Notice that the S disappeared. Or if I was talking to you, do you like broccoli? Do they? Do we? Do I? Maybe I need you to remind me. Do I like broccoli? But we can also do this in the past, where if I say, I went to the supermarket, the question form would be, did you go to the supermarket? With the future, we don't even call it the future simple because we usually call it will, but we have that auxiliary, so you don't need to worry about it. But when a sentence and statement form does not have an auxiliary, we call do for some help. Last up, an ace you can have up your sleeve just in case you started wrong. You wanted to ask a question, but you already started by saying, you eat, there's no going back. You can't include that do. What will you do? You will make an inversion. And the grammatically correct way to do this is if you started with a positive sentence, you would bring it a negative in the same tense. You eat sushi, don't you? If it was the opposite, you don't eat sushi, do you? But I don't recommend this because you can really just use right, and it will resolve your problem without doing these mental acrobatics. And in writing, we rarely write questions confirming like this. So if you hear yourself making the mistake of not inverting the sentence with like the do you or the is Lise, just add right at the end, and you will be able to turn it into a grammatically correct question without anybody realizing your mistake. All right. Do you have a favorite restaurant? I like Paladar del Cubano, Mr. Julio. Some tostones, the fried bananas. They're excellent there. So if you're in Belo Horizonte, I recommend it. Paladar del Cubano. And what did you order the last time you went there? It's called Roupa Vieja. It's excellent. If you want to know what Roupa Vieja it is not old clothes, but go check the menu. And did you eat a big breakfast? Always. Absolutely. I had 5 eggs, some bread, a piece of pepperoni, salami, but it was an excellent breakfast. Always start the day strong. Detail. Once you know all those rules from above, we can add these open questions. If somebody says, what's your name? And you go, yes. It's not a good look. These question words, you add them to the front of a yes and no question. And I think it's important for us to learn or to think about the answer in this case, because some of them don't translate exactly, at least English to Portuguese. So I'm going to go right to the difficulties. What you're looking for a thing. And sometimes I see my students switching it with which you are looking for an option. What's the difference? With what, you can pretty much answer anything. If I say, what is your favorite ice cream? You can say it's bean flavored ice cream. And you'll be right, it's fine. But if I go to a ice cream shop and I say, which do you want? And you say bean flavored ice cream, they don't have bean flavored ice cream. So it's not correct. And it does not need to be only two options. Sometimes people think that, but it needs to be a closed set of options. Also, how, just like Chris's dad, he has 2 jobs. And we're only talking about this first one here. I will go over it in more detail in another class, but how, you're asking about the way, the manner of something. But if you mix how with an adjective, it is a quantifier. You're kind of, thank you for being here. You're kind of asking for like a level of that. Oh, how hot is it today? You're asking on a scale of hotness. Oh, it's really hot. It's unbearably hot. Oh, it's not so hot. Stop complaining. So you use the adjective as a metric. All right. Who's also a little bit less familiar. It's about possession. Whose pen is this? But whom I didn't include. Whom was kind of dying, and so don't worry about whom. You see this. You might see this in one of those series, that kind of Game of Thrones, that old English. Oh, and what's the activity here? If you are having trouble with these words, find the simplest, most obvious question possible. I gave some examples here, but it's kind of just like a cheat sheet, a mental reminder in case you mix these up. Whose cooking is the best? Ooh, my aunts. Everybody has a family member who has the best cooking, but Gina, she makes some legendary pasoka. My aunt Bernadette as well. She's an amazing cook. And what would you make in the kitchen if you were hosting 10 people? Definitely not rice with piqui. I know people would be angry, but maybe a barbecue. I can grill some meats pretty well. Talking point, your diet. Who doesn't like to eat? So it's an easy thing that you can talk about. Food you will always find in your kitchen. We had a lot of fun with this in class. Common foods you dislike. For me, it's seafood, fish. I'm not a big fan. Something that makes most dishes better. I love some hot sauce. Add some spiciness, and I will definitely eat it. Your favorite healthy snacks. Your favorite cheat meal when you want to go crazy. So just some stuff to discuss. What is something you eat once a week? What is something that I eat once a week? Not every week, but we usually have like a burger night or a sandwich night at least. And if you have any good pitches for the number 8, send them my way. I'm curious. Last up, team, an excellent game for some fun, light English practice. 20 questions. Since I can remember life, when I was little, I can remember this game, played it in school. And basically, one person starts by saying, you have 20 questions to guess. The one that I use with my students was, you have 20 questions to guess the dish I am going to eat on Friday. And the other people have 20 yes or no questions to guess what it is. And I think for fun, you can include some clues. So, for example, if they said, does it have meat? And I said, no, it doesn't, but it pairs really well with meat. So you'll be getting some extra English practice while having some fun. Have you eaten rice with piqui? That was the actual clue, what they were guessing. And I love it. And number 10, this is about an activity I will be starting in the next few weeks. So start thinking about what you are an expert in. Team, our vocab, meal prep. Meal prep is just when you pick a day to prepare your meal before you actually eat it to save some time. Lean is another way of saying skinny. When we're talking about meats, we use lean instead of skinny. Lean is also like maybe a healthier skinny if you're talking about a human. And dish can be the literal plate, but you can't use plate to talk about like ribs with barbecue sauce. You would have to say dish. All right, team, that's it. Thank you, and I hope to see you in class. A good one.